Welcome, friends, gamers, and other enthusiasts to the BoydofZINJ channel. I hope you enjoy your time here and the video. Please like, subscribe, do all the bell icons, and comment. It really does help small content creators like myself and others by doing so. If you click on the notifications, it may even let others and the YouTube gods know that they may enjoy these videos. With that being said, let's play. Mechabellum. All right, the YouTube gods do not like super long videos from lowly content creators like myself. I understand, you know. So I had to break up this tournament into two different parts, part one, part two. This is part two. The tournament's not over yet. There's still, some undefeated people. I'm playing, and this is a person that I'm pretty sure I played previously. And future self, I did play this person previously. But let's take that one step at a time. There's several different cards I could pick. I decided to go with support specialist. I like the units. The support specialist has a decent, over 4K number, and extra, credits is useful. This person has air units. And I'm double checking because, like I said, my self in the past is kind of remembering this person. It says, "Hey, wait a moment, did I play this person?" And if you notice, I'm talking to this person in chat. I know this is for funsies. This, the tournament. I already lost. This person has lost, so it doesn't matter who wins or loses. Now, again, the one advantage I like about both arc lights and tanks is that the tanks and arc lights share the same speed, so you can move them in such a way that they'll enter how you want them. And I want the tanks to be taking the brunt of the damage at first. Essentially tanking. Hence their name, right? The sledgehammers. So I position the arc lights to the far corners and one in the middle. Standard deployment for me. I have good, stuff to kill fodder units, shaft, like crawlers, fangs. I want something to deal with the air. I could do fangs or I could do marksmen. I decided to go for marksmen, especially against an unknown, unit composition, and against phoenixes. I feel marksmen are slightly better than fangs in this situation. I save my extra credits for later. I was thinking about, should I get a third unit? But I don't want to overplay my hand because I have no idea what unit this person is playing. Alright, the person I'm fighting, it seems to be very competent, very nice. If you notice, I'm chatting with this person, the previous match, I was very upset. The previous matches, I was getting frustrated. This match, I'm feeling a lot more laid back. I'm deciding what card. Heavy Mustang is definitely no go. I'm either thinking skipping or deploy specialist. Deploy specialist is worth its weight in gold. Even though you don't use it every single round, it's useful most of the time. Now I can put up 3 units, possibly even 4 if I wanted to. Do I want to flank? That's the big question. I'm taking a look, and I decide not to flank. And the main reason why is this person seems to have guarded his sides. So it'll be a waste. With that being said, I've already purchased the units, and, I decided to throw the unit in the back, so that way, towards the middle of the fight, this unit will come in and hopefully throw chaos. And I only do it on one side because, again, I don't expect that unit to do very much. I pick up additional arc lights to deal with the fodder. And again, I was able to put in 3 units because I picked up that card. So I grabbed a 4th unit. And I say, you know what? some extra fodder units might be useful. And I see here that this person on the left-hand side decides to flank. So it's a good thing I threw in those units. They're helping me clear out the enemy flank. I know I will need to deal with that flank later, but at least I have a unit dealing with them now. Now, even though my crawlers took care of them, next time they'll be fully phased in and the crawlers may not be able to take care of them. So I will have to deal with that flank. The battle's still early. The person has taken a few hits, but it's still green. Orbital bombardment's useful. It's not too expensive. Smoke's somewhat useful. Amplifying core is useful as well, but I decided to go for orbital bombardment. While it's highly RNG, it does have a tendency to hit, especially air units, it seems. And I know that if I get it, the enemy may get it, or there is other abilities. So I decided to shield myself to guard against the possibility. I unlock fangs. Fangs, or unlocking them, you can only unlock 1 unit per round, and fangs are a free unlock. Even if I don't use them, it's useful. I decided, to deal with the side to throw in an arc light. The person hasn't committed roughly, and just in case this person does something sneaky, I decided to put a missile to the forward side. I see here the person, my enemy, has decided to come in with a fortress. And here's those crawlers that I picked up. And because the fortress was concentrating on another unit, the crawlers were able to get in, and the fortress is having trouble dealing with them. And receiving tons of damage because of them. So that cheap unit is able to take out this giant unit because the giant unit had no way to clear the fodder unit. Unfortunately for the enemy, I was able to take out the tower right before the Phoenix could fire. As a result, I did tremendous amounts of damage. If the enemy took out the tower, and I was making comments on that, if the enemy took out the tower before I did, the battle might have turned the other way. I'm thinking all 4 of these could be useful. I'm using shields a lot. Having a giant with barriers is very useful. I could also skip. I decided I'm going to need something to deal with that fortress. Melting points don't have any type of barriers, so putting it on a melting point is useful. I decided to burn the midnight oil and take a small loan. And since as of right now, this person has nothing protecting the fortress ahead of time, I decided to, forward my melting points. And sure enough, it takes care of the barrier and the fortress. This is why you should always protect your giants with fodder units in front of the giants. If there's a bunch of crawlers or fangs in front of the giants or any other type of units, my melting point would not have been able to take care of the fortress as easily on the left side. Luckily for me, my melting point is moving to the right, which is good because that's where the other fortress is at, and the enemy. And because the enemy has very few units, the melting point is able to concentrate their devastating power on the enemy fortress. Elite steel balls could be very useful. Strike specialist somewhat. Acid blast, I'm debating, or I could just skip because I know I'm going to be low on money. I'm looking at the field. I need to do something with that fortress. I do notice that this person put an artificial barrier on the fortress and then get the barrier upgrade. So that barrier on the fortress isn't super tough. I decide to go for Acid Blast. The biggest problem with the enemy is having these fodder units. So I decide to try and get rid of the fodder units. Even though the fortress will get damaged, the primary damage is not there for the acid isn't primarily for killing the fortress, it's killing the fodder unit, so that way my melting point gets access to the fodder to the fortress faster. I put the arc light forward just in case this person decides to do something cheeky and throw a bunch of crawlers. Again, on the right, the person has no fortress, no fodder units in front of the fortress. So I was able to take out the fortress easily. However, the left-hand side, the enemy decided to put a bunch of units, and that's giving me trouble. And even on the right side, I'm losing the right side. I may eke out a victory on the right side, but the left side looks very grave. And I have a few forces out there, but it's not going to be enough to take out a fortress and all these other units. And especially since my units are weakened and slowed, they're just cannon fodder at this point. The plus side is the acid will stay an extra turn. Notice how my enemy has no way of clearing fodder efficiently. And this is going to haunt this person, and I recognize that as a threat. Underground threat is actually useful. Again, why? This person is having trouble clearing multiple fodder units. And underground threat gives you a bunch of them. I know there's multiple balls that come into play, and I may even see more. So I decided to go for the split. It'll decrease the melting point's range, but I'll be able to attack multiple targets at once, which I think is going to be more valuable. I'm debating if I want hackers or another unit to back me up. I need something additional. I decided to go with marksmen. Marksmen are cheap. I need to worry about the economy a little bit. The left side, I had a little bit extra trouble, so I'm reinforcing the left side. I'm debating about if I want to burn the midnight oil and take out a loan, but I decide not to. It may cost me though. Now my melting point on the left side is doing a really great job. Melting point on the right is already dead. But because I have multiple laser shots, I'm able to hit. And even though this one single laser isn't as powerful as the multiple lasers are not as powerful as a single laser. Now that I'm looking at the fortress, it's ramping up the damage. This one melting point has become basically like a boss. And even though I have decreased range, I do have the range upgrade, which is making a difference as well. I go for the senior attack specialist. I need to upgrade my melting point to give it more damage, more HP. I have 800 credits left. Do I need an extra unit? Sometimes upgrades are better than gain extra units. I go for the defensive shield, and I start upgrading my units. Now I do grab, I recognize there's a lot of shaft there, so I do grab hacker, and I'm debating what type of hacker I want. Do I want it as a distraction hacker or a defensive hacker? A single target or multiple targets? And I also recognize that my right hand side, I need more fodder units as well to act as a barrier. Again, these fodder units are acting as barriers so that way my big units and my more powerful units are able to do something. So I grab another group of fangs. I have 250 credits left. Do I upgrade or do I find an upgrade to place on a single unit? I decide to upgrade. I have a lot of arc lights, so I decide to upgrade my arc lights defenses. They'll absorb more damage, be harder to kill. Especially since I have so many, that means each one will take an extra shot or two to kill. Maybe even 3 shots. Arc light to the left passed away. Arc light to the right, because I reinforced it, and I do have a hacker, it is actually coming out ahead. Again, multiple beams, even with range, can be very powerful. I lost my tower to the left, so I'm hurt. However, my melting point was protected by units. My units recover, and again, these multiple beams are making tremendous amounts of damage. It wasn't enough to take out the last 2 units. But point-wise, I'm actually ahead. So even though it was a loss, it wasn't a total disastrous loss. I know my left-hand side is losing, so I need to reinforce the left. But I decided still to take out the shields on the right. I'm sorry, the shields on the right and do damage on the left. And I decided to grab an extra melting point to reinforce the left-hand side. I still have 650 credits, and I recognize this. Again, fodder units. These fodder units are slowing down the enemy, and I recognize that. So I decided to place 2 additional fangs in front of my melting point. I shield up the right side, 300 credits. I decided to get the barrier. Since I purchased another hacker, it'll act as a walking barrier as well. And I put it slightly behind the melting points. Because again, the hacker's primary goal isn't to take damage, it's a support unit. So you want it to be surrounded by friends. At least that's the way how I'm playing it. And the barrier is helping them as much as it's helping itself. Sadly, I lost my melting point to the left and my shields to the left. My hacker is trying desperately to do something, but the left-hand hacker is pointless. My right-hand hacker has captured a few units, but will it be enough? This will be the bad point. And again, my units are slowed. And because I had no units to the left, to the center of my melting point to the right, it was unprotected. I need to address the middle. I need to do something with the middle. Now, I need to also prevent the damage from coming in. So I decided to get photon emission. That way, these units will survive longer. I see on the left-hand side, I'm still having trouble clearing out units. So I decide to change it up and bring out Mustangs. And I quickly give them upgrades to the DPS. These Mustangs' primary job is to destroy fodder units and help with the damage. And I'm positioning them forward. I don't want them helping out the rear. The flanking units is slowing my units from recovery, which is causing the left-hand side to fall. The left-hand side's falling because of that flank. Even though the flank's being destroyed, it's taking away units that should be up front, which is a good distraction if it works, which it has been. So I need to change it up. Point-wise, it's pretty much even. I'm up by 4 points, but that's nothing. My enemy also got photon emissions. The dual multi-points work. And because the Phoenix can't concentrate on any single target, I'm able to kill multiple targets. The right-hand side has failed. However, left side finally succeeded. And there's so few Phoenixes that it should be a win. And sure enough, my marksmen's take it. Round 10. The person is at 8 points. A loss will be an automatic loss for that person. No ands, ifs, or buts. I decide to go for elite wasps. I also noticed this person has very little anti-air power. Most of their units are ground units shooting at the ground level. And since I suspect that this could be the last match, I'm going all in on air. And I'm doing it on both sides. So that way the left side has some air, the right hand side has some air. And to guarantee that these units will be super effective, the wasps are getting the shock ability. It'll cancel out any special ability and slow down the enemy. A double win. 27 seconds left. Vulcans. I wasn't expecting Vulcans. The person got Vulcans to clear out my fodder units. But Vulcans, again, shoot down. Don't shoot air. And here comes my wasps. My right hand side has one. My left is having trouble. However, I have multiple wasps, and the person surrenders. This person not have any anti-air ability, and because I saved the anti-air to a critical moment, it guaranteed me the victory. Overall, it was a good match, I believe. And this ends the tournament. We have an actual winner with the tournament. Congratulations. The first person, the runner-up, was the person that I faced in round 1. So good, kudos for that person. You know, that person defeated me, but I thought most of the matches, even though I lost, just a few, I think I could have won. So I'm feeling good about myself with this game at this point of the tournament, which is where you want to leave off. It says, okay, I didn't win, got 7th place, did decent, learned stuff, you know, and again, positioning in this game is very key. Giant units seem to be better, you know, protected, better used if they're supported by other units. Having a lone giant by itself could mean its death, and you're just wasting a lot of money and giving other units EXP, huge chunks of EXP to make them even more powerful if you do that. And we saw time after time again that if you don't support your giant units correctly, it'll just fail. Even on my side, when I didn't support, you know, my melting points on the left-hand side with fodder units, they were failing. But then when I threw in a bunch of fodder units, I was winning. Most of the giant units work like that. And I need to, this is something I need to remember in the future. If you have any other suggestions, comments, any helpful, information you can give me is on this game or anything else, please let me know. I'm still learning. I know I've played a few matches, but, I'm 50 plus years old and I could always learn. You have a great day and thank you for watching the video or night or wherever you're at.